Welcome back to the VybeShift Podcast. Today I want to talk about something incredibly human, something almost all of us experience but very few people truly understand. And that is this: what do we do when our minds pull us into fear, overwhelm, or reaction? Because if you're anything like me, you've probably had moments where a single thought completely shifted your internal state. Maybe nothing externally even changed, but internally, everything changed. Suddenly, the mind begins projecting into the future. What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if everything falls apart? What if I'm not enough? What if I can't handle this? And before long, the body reacts as though the imagined future is already real. The heart rate changes, the nervous system tightens, the emotions intensify, the mind begins to spiral. And here's what most people do in those moments. They believe the reaction means something is wrong with them. But what if that isn't true? What if the reaction is not proof that you're broken, but evidence that a system inside you has been activated? That realization changed so much for me, because once I stopped seeing myself as the problem, I could finally begin observing the pattern itself. And observation changes everything. One of the biggest realizations I've had recently came while swimming. As I moved through the water, I noticed my mind drifting constantly. One moment it was replaying the past, the next moment it was imagining the future, and I suddenly realized my mind was leaving the system I was currently in. Because in that moment, the system was movement. Breathing, water, presence, the feel of exertion in the body, the sensation of water against the skin, the sound of the environment around me. Reality was happening in the present moment. But the mind kept trying to pull me somewhere else. And what I realized was this: the only place we can actually do anything about anything is the present moment. Not the imagined future, not the replayed past, only here. But the survival mind does not like here. The survival mind wants prediction, control, preparation, certainty. So when uncertainty appears, the system reacts. And if we are unconscious of the reaction, we become identified with it. We think, I'm overwhelmed, instead of, my system is experiencing overwhelm. That is a massive difference. Because one creates identity, the other creates awareness. And awareness creates space. That space is where alignment begins returning. Not because fear disappears instantly, but because now there is an observer present. And once the observer awakens, reaction no longer completely controls the experience. Now I want to be clear about something. Alignment does not mean never feeling fear. It does not mean never feeling emotional. It does not mean becoming spiritually detached from life. Alignment means remembering yourself while the reaction is happening. That's different, very different, because many people think alignment is a permanent emotional state. But in reality, alignment is the ability to return, to notice, to breathe, to observe, to ground, to reconnect, again and again and again. That is the practice. And honestly, the realization removed so much pressure from my life because I stopped expecting myself to never drift. Instead, I began practicing returning, and every return strengthens awareness. Every return strengthens grounding. Every return strengthens trust. Now, here's another important realization. Most fear spirals are not happening because of what is actually occurring in the present moment. They are happening because the mind is trying to solve imagined future pain. That is why catastrophic thinking feels so real. The nervous system reacts to imagination as though it were real. And once I understood that, I stopped immediately believing every thought that entered my mind. That doesn't mean I suppressed thought. It means I observed them before identifying with them. That alone changes the entire experience. Because now the question becomes, is this reality or is this my system reacting? That question creates interruption, and interruption breaks unconscious spirals. Now, another powerful realization from this week is this. Everything is a system. Your health is a system. Your relationships are systems. Your finances are systems. Your emotional patterns are systems. Your focus is a system. Your nervous system is a system. And systems produce outcomes. Which means if we want different outcomes, we must begin understanding the system beneath them. Not from judgment, but from curiosity. Curiosity is powerful because curiosity softens fear. Curiosity creates observation, and observation creates understanding. This is one of the reasons why awareness itself is healing, because awareness interrupts unconsciousness, and unconsciousness is where most suffering compounds itself. Now, before we close today, I want to give you something very practical. The next time you feel yourself spiraling, pause and ask yourself, what system am I currently in? Not mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically. Bring yourself back to what is actually happening right now. Your breath, your body, your environment, your movement, your senses. And then gently ask, is my mind reacting to reality or reacting to possibility? That question alone can change everything, because the moment awareness enters the experience, you are no longer completely lost inside the reaction. And that awareness is the beginning of grounded trust. Thank you for being here with me today. And remember, you are not failing because your mind reacts. You are human. The practice is not perfection. The practice is returning again and again and again. Until next time, keep shifting, keep breathing, keep observing, and keep becoming. And if today's episode resonated with you, join me on the Vibrational Stage podcast, where we're going to explore the same core problem from a completely different perspective. Because sometimes the breakthrough does not come from fighting the reaction. It comes from understanding the deeper systems that are creating the reaction in the first place. On the Vibrational Stage podcast, we'll go deeper into emotional survival patterns, why the mind clings to fear, the hidden exhaustion of constantly reacting, and how we begin rebuilding trust within ourselves and within life. If you've ever felt trapped inside your own mental noise, this next episode is for you. Please follow the link to the Vibrational Stage podcast. I'll meet you there.